everybody. I'm Drew Barry, and I will talk to you about the Parental Rights Amendment, what it looks like, and the effect it would have on our nation to protect parental rights. As Mr. Rob Wagner has shown, we are facing a dangerous situation in America. In fact, it's called the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, or UNCRC for short. This treaty strikes at the very core of the idea of the family and, in essence, the very foundations of our country. So the question arises, what can we do to protect ourselves from it? What can we do to protect ourselves from any form of a treaty that would threaten to destroy the foundations of our country? There's only one thing that we can do, and that is to amend the Constitution. Now, of course, why is that? The Founding Fathers had a great respect for law in all the forms that it could take. And they had so much respect for law, in fact, that they stipulated in the Constitution that all treaties signed by America would become law. Now, that's a very good principle, and it's stated in Article 4 of the Constitution. However, as we see with the UNCRC, it can lead to disaster, as that article would stipulate that if we, as a nation, signed the UNCRC, all of it would become American law. You can see the danger this creates. With the UNCRC's presumption in favor of government, judges would be forced to decide any cases involving parents according to the government's predetermined criteria, whatever that may be. Now, of course, there's the danger, because the government has total freedom to decide what those criteria are, and that leaves the parents totally to the side when it comes to the raising of children. And so, the only thing we can do is to amend the Constitution with the Parental Rights Amendment. The way that protects us is because the Constitution is what would give the UNCRC its legal force. So if we take away the legal force that the Constitution would give the UNCRC, it'd be the perfect protection. So, of course, what would this amendment look like? Does it have to be some long, very high-minded statement? Absolutely not. In fact, it can be something rather simple, and the stated form of the Parental Rights Amendment is very simple. And it reads like this. Section 1 of the Parental Rights Amendment says, "The liberty of parents to direct the upbringing and education of their children is a fundamental right." Section 2, "Neither the United States nor any state shall infringe upon this right without demonstrating that its governmental interest is of the highest order and not otherwise served." Section 3 reads, "No treaty may be adopted, nor shall any source of international law be employed to supersede, modify, interpret, or apply to the rights guaranteed by this article." It's short, it's simple, and it's to the point. Each section attacks and solidifies a certain portion of the whole idea of parental rights. And the best part is each of these sections, or most of the sections, are constructed from the previous language of Supreme Court cases that ended in favor of parental rights. For your own research, the most notable of these cases are Pierce v. Society of Sisters, Wisconsin v. Yoder, and Gonzalez v. O Centro Beneficiate Uniano de Vegetal. Section 1 of the amendment guarantees that parental rights are a fundamental right, as fundamental as the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness found in the Constitution. Section 2 merely guarantees that governmental involvement in the upbringing of children will be as limited as possible. This is just a further solidification of parental rights as found in Section 1. Section 3 is what really puts the bullet in the head of the UNCRC. It guarantees that the United States will not allow international law to tamper with parental rights. This section was actually specifically written against the UNCRC. Again, this amendment is simple, and yet it's very, very effective. It would put up an impenetrable legal shield for American parents. So only one more question remains. How would we pass the amendment? That is a very important question, and one that needs to be addressed. Like any worthy endeavor, it would require a lot, and I mean a lot, of hard work. But it's not impossible, and it can be done. The way that the parental rights organizations want to get the amendment inserted into the Constitution is actually one of the most rarest forms of getting into the Constitution, but it's also the most safe, because the process they want to use would actually bypass the president. And with the present state of affairs with our presidential state, We want to bypass that, as number one priority. Essentially, this is how the process would look. The first thing, it would be introduced to Congress as a bill, same as any other bill in American history. At that point, Congress would immediately refer it to another committee. They wouldn't touch it. That committee would then consider the bill, making it acceptable as a legal document by changing a wording here. They're actually changing whole sections. If the committee likes the bill, it's passed to Congress. If the committee doesn't like the bill would then be dead. However, we are very sure that will not happen. My brother Calberry will explain why we're very sure of that. When it goes back to Congress, Congress then debates it, both houses. To continue on its way to being an amendment, the bill must pass both houses by a 2/3 majority vote. It is at this point that the path of the Constitution takes a rather divergent course. Instead of going to the President, we hope that the amendment will go straight to the states. Only one other amendment has passed through this road, but it's also a very safe road. We need 3/4 of the states, or 38 of our 50 United States, to pass the amendments through their legislators. And again, that looks very probable. Most of the states are in support of it, as are many organizations. If it passes the determined number of 3/4, it is then inserted into the Constitution and joins the 27 other bills that became amendments. Again, it's a very hard road, and it would require a lot of dedication and hard work on our part. But it's not impossible. It can be done, and it must be done to secure the safety of our children, our families, and in the end, of America. Now that you're informed of the parental rights, my brother Calberry will talk about the conflict between the UNCRC and the Parental Rights Amendment and the effects it has on our nation. And finally, he'll talk about the support for the Parental Rights Amendment that is always growing in our nation. One final word. It's up to us. We are the generation facing this, not our parents. It's not going to be our children. It's going to be us. In that way, we need to beat it. We need to be the generation that rises up and takes our God-given responsibility to defeat this thing. And we will do it. With the Lord Jesus Christ's help, we will do this. Thank you.